Before I answer this question over here, I want to ask you guys a question. What is the difference between Victoria Beckham and the Victorian property investors / landlords at the moment? The answer is they're both getting fucked by an Englishman. Now, before the new Victorian land tax reform that was passed yesterday, you guys who represent Victoria Beckham, Victoria itself, landlords and property investors, was very happily married to David Beckham. But then, Mr. Tim Palace is here to fuck you in the ass. Or to quote my Vietnamese uncle over here, he'll be saying, "You the bad boy, you take all the free COVID money, now time to pay back bad boy landlord investor." So basically, in a nutshell, what's happening right now, if you use my Vietnamese uncle in Melbourne as an example, he has 4 properties. He has a PPOR in Richmond, and then 1 investment property in Footscray, a 2nd investment property in Springsvale, and a 3rd investment in St. Albans. And the reason for that is he doesn't speak English and he only leases out to Vietnamese drug lords. From January 2024, there will be a new tax bill which says for the next 10 years, to recoup the cost of the 10 billion plus bill that was given out in terms of free money during the free money COVID days, which to be honest was taken by 2/3 of non-property investors and the bloody freeloaders. But the 1/3, which is like my Vietnamese uncle over here who has investment properties, they're penalized with a new tax. And this 1/3 of property investors represent 860k of Victorians that will be affected. Which means if my Victorian uncle owns a house worth 250k, which is impossible in these suburbs, but let's just say this is breaking down into land value of 100k and then 150k for the build, then the land value is then taxed on. So the range is 50k to 100k, you gotta pay $500 per year. Land value between 100k and 300k, you gotta pay $975 per year. But if you're like my Vietnamese uncle that has nice houses and lands, well, the land value is minimum 500k. And how they tax you in this new scenario of the new land tax is that out of the 500k, 300k portion will be charged at $975 per year. Then the difference, which is the 500 minus 300, which is 200, will be taxed at 0.1%, and that is $200 per year. Add that together, that's $1,175 per year. Do you like it, baby? Now my Vietnamese uncle is crying now. Ooh, I'm so sad, because that will be times 3, which becomes an extra cost of $3,525 per year because of these bloody 2/3 freeloaders here. So Victorian government, I want to really ask you, is this really fair for the property investors in Victoria? Existing Vic investors will probably cry, but new Vic investors will be very put off and won't be buying in Victoria as investors and will probably move into New South Wales or interstates, which maybe be very good for first-time buyers in Victoria right now because we'll see prices drop as all these Victorian, speculators, investors will be driven out of the market as there's no more incentive to buy property in Victoria anymore, like my Vietnamese uncle. And a second thing that will happen, which I think my Vietnamese uncle will definitely do, is to get this cost, which is the extra land tax, divided by 52, which equals $67, and then jack up all his rental properties by $100 a week. Woo! Because to quote my Vietnamese uncle, well, you can do that, but then you forget I'm the gangster, okay? I do the 5T before. And for me personally, I'm so glad I don't have any investments in Victoria. Woohoo! Because I'll be F if the New South Wales government asked me to pay 10 years of this, which is $35,000, for a tax recuperation bill of $10 billion, which I never use anyway. Because during COVID, I was killing. I didn't need that free money. So why should I be taxed for that? Jump in the comments and let me know what you think.